distorts my record, it is. I sold Harkin stock at $4 a share. It went to $8 a share 13 months later and was fully investigated by the Securities Exchange Commission. I am on the board of Tom Brown, Inc., a very viable Midland, Texas-based oil company, which the governor of Texas is trying to diminish. It is a healthy, strong company. Harkin Energy, a healthy, strong, Texas-based company that the governor's ads say are not viable Texas companies. I just beg to differ with you. I don't mind people looking into my background. I just want them to be truthful about my background. I own more than 2% of the Texas Rangers. I guess the governor's handlers haven't figured that out yet, but I vested over 10% of interest in the Rangers. It is a viable economic enterprise. It is my primary business, and I invite people to come to the majestic ballpark at Arlington to see the works of entrepreneurs.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bush. Let's go again to the governor for some rebuttal, I should think.
Well, I want to tell you what happened in words that Mama understands.
A lot of this starts with making sure that education is the #1 funding priority of the state. We must reform the education system. An educated child is one less likely to commit a crime. I know we need to change the welfare system to make one of the conditions of welfare prior to someone receiving tax aid to go to parenting schools and to make sure that their children are immunized. I believe Head Start programs make sense. I want to make sure that people understand that I know that governors and governments can't create loving organizations. That occurs with people inside communities. And so one of the things we must do in our society is to identify children at risk early in life and encourage mentoring programs. One of the wonderful things about campaigning is to go all over our state of Texas to see the programs that work. I think of one out in West Texas where the kindergarten instructors in this school district identified children who are at risk. And they went to the service clubs, and the service clubs volunteered to mentor the children and surround them with love. And so to answer your question, it is education, it is working on programs that work, and is encouraging people in the community-based programs, people of goodwill and good heart, to say this ought to be the #1 priority of our society, is to surround kids with love.
Governor Richards, please.
Well, I've heard all this.
Bush.
The welfare rolls in the state of Texas have grown by 200,000 people in the last 4 years. We have a system that has created dependency upon government. The system is not working, and you're right, we only pay $188, and that's why I want to change the system. That's why I want to encourage people off welfare so that they can find a job. And what I said was we ought to encourage private industry that is happening in other states to come into the state of Texas to provide job training and job placement services, and they will be paid upon completion of the task. The bureaucracies in Texas have failed to find job placement and job training in an efficient way, and that's why you're frustrated the way you are. I believe we ought to say to the able-bodied, and by the way, Governor, I am not for changing Medicaid for the elderly or the nursing homes. What I am for saying is that people can be on welfare for 2 years. These are the able-bodied. And people without children for 2 years, and then they're off. We have a system today that says to males, you can father a child and nothing will happen to you in the state of Texas. And so I say prior to someone receiving welfare from the state, she must identify who the father is of that child so that some point in time, we can hold him accountable for his behavior. And likewise, I believe we send the wrong signal to women on welfare who have children, and we pay them to have additional children. I don't care if it's a dime, a dollar, or $100. It sends the wrong signal.
She disagrees.
I am not for cutting the children off Medicaid, nor am I for changing the.
You said something about benefits to families without children. There are no welfare benefits for families without children. It's aid for families.
No,
with
I said, we ought to say to anybody who has got children and decides to have additional children while on welfare, no additional welfare to them. Jim, I joined the National Guard because, I got into the National Guard because people did not want to spend the amount of time necessary to become a jet pilot. It requires a 1-year commitment to learn how to fly. It required another 6.5 months to learn how to fly the F-102. As you may recall, most Guard assignments were for 6 months, and then people went on weekend duty once a month. I decided I wanted to learn how to fly a jet, and I did fly a jet. It took a 1.5 years worth of training, something that most people did not want to do. We had five pilot slots open. I was pilot number 3 of the 5 who got in during my class. Putting a F-102 jet in afterburner in a single-seat, single-engine aircraft was a thrill, but it also wasn't trying to avoid duty. Had that engine failed, I could have been killed. And so I was at risk. I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed my service to my country. But to answer your question, my father, just like my commanding officer said, had nothing to do with me getting into that unit.
You are confident that no influence is exercised in your behalf?
I am, yeah.
Mr.
First, let me, and this is a huge difference between Governor Richards and me. She's satisfied with the status quo in the welfare system. I'm not. I want to change it. I don't believe it's worked. I believe in life when you find something that does not work, you ought to change it. I am not for cutting children off of Medicaid and or food stamps. I've never said that. What I'm trying to say is, let's not pay somebody to have additional children while on welfare. It sends the absolute wrong signal. Now, in terms of handguns, it is against the law to sell a gun to a minor, and we ought to enforce the laws. I believe the Juvenile Justice Code say that anybody who gets caught carrying a gun without adult supervision and obviously not hunting ought to be automatically put into a boot camp or detention center in the state of Texas. The problem is we don't have any boot camps and we don't have any detention centers because nothing has been done to change the juvenile justice system in the state of Texas for the past 4 years.
Ms. Richards.
From $48 billion to $72 billion in 4 short years. We've added 31,000 new state employees in the state of government. Texas now employs more people in state government than the state of New York does. We talk about the expansive job base in our state. 24% of those jobs were state, local, and federal jobs in the state of Texas. The campaign speech we just heard about teacher pay raise could have been 4 years ago, where she promised a pay raise 4 years ago and did not deliver. She also promised that we would rid the school districts of the clutches of the Texas Education Agency, and that has not happened. I've proposed a plan which says to each and every teacher, principal, administrator, we will free you from the unfunded mandates of the legislature and the onerous rules of the TEA subject to results. As a state, we will set standards, and so long as you meet those standards, and so long as you achieve results, you're free to design the program that best fits the needs of the local community in which you live.
We're down to our last few minutes. Your question.
What Texans can dream, Texans can do. This victory tonight is a great honor. The vote carries with it an awesome responsibility. Texas is ready for a new generation of leadership, and I will provide that. I have heard from Texas tonight, and I hear of the call of constructive change. Change of our juvenile justice system to save a generation of our young. Change of a welfare system to end dependency upon government. And change of our education system by freeing our teachers and principals and parents and school board members from centralized control so we can have excellence in the classroom for every child. I have just received a very, very gracious phone call from Governor Ann Richards.